You are welcome to LFN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. It's been disturbing how the R&B King ended up with such a wrongful conviction that suggested he is guilty for all 10 counts, followed by a 30-year sentence with no window for any sort of probation or supervised release until after the 30 years have been served. While the judgment by the trial court federal judge Ann Donnelly shocked many, the sentencing was the real true shocker that left everyone wondering what vendetta existed between the trial judge and the R&B King to cause such a desire in her to see him in prison for the rest of his life, moreover on account of evidently non-credible witnesses who did more of telling lies than narrate their stories. The fact that the Brooklyn federal judge left no window of self-redemption for the R&B King meant death in prison for the now 56-year-old music star. But what did R. Kelly do to deserve this is the unending question that has remained unanswered among those who still love and support him. And those who know him well enough to have learned his ways just won't believe the lies that have been spread against him on social and mainstream media. The strategy the government tried to use to take down R. Kelly was to lock him up and away from the public, and to also silence his music which would speak on his behalf such that this would leave a vacuum for them to fill with their propaganda against him, and this they did so well. While R. Kelly was languishing in prison and dully denied bail even after he was battered by an inmate in an event that still causes us to think the BOP could have been involved, the government was busy selling more and more hateful propaganda, and doing all in their capacity to educate the masses on how evil the R&B King was. They attempted to use his own music and slogans such as the nickname of the Pied Piper to brand him as a predator, but surely if he had been that kind of person, the government would have no reason to spread hate while he was literally handcuffed in a prison cell. Like we all know, only a weak person will fight a man with his hands tied to his back, and that is exactly what the government did. The fair way would have been to grant him bail and allow him enough interaction with his attorneys to put out a proper defense for himself. Locked up in the MDC and under COVID-19 restrictions, R. Kelly did not get time enough with his legal team to even realize that he needed to change attorneys, and this is how he ended up with the ineffective legal counsel Bonjean mentioned in her appeal. The effects of this lack of effective legal counsel started manifesting right at the start of the trial, when they failed to screen out prejudicial jurors who had promised by word of mouth that they would not be fair throughout the trial, indicating they would be biased, which they turned out to be. The New York judge did not bother to screen them out, but even the defense attorneys did not do enough to weed out these agents of prejudice before it was too late. Once it occurred to us that we had prejudicial jurors on board, we hoped that the federal judge would deal with the matter and put them right where they go wrong, for it is her responsibility to remind them of what the law says. But instead Judge Donnelly turned out to be just like these jurors and overruled almost all objections from the defense, giving the plaintiff a leeway to further tarnish the R&B King with over 40 uncharged bad acts presented by witnesses who were irrelevant to the case. Once the prejudice was complete and R. Kelly wrongfully convicted with an all-guilty verdict, we still hoped that the jurors in whom we had no more trust left had simply overwhelmed the judge, but we came to realize we were wrong when she later returned with an extravagant sentence that would send R. Kelly to prison for the rest of his life. She also made sure to accompany her already inappropriate sentence with bogus terms and conditions, suggesting R. Kelly would only be liable for supervised release after he has served the entire 30 years in prison. It was only after the New York sentencing that we confirmed Judge Ann Donnelly was not any different from her team of prejudicial jurors, and our suspicion she could be a racist sounded much closer to the reality. With no more trust in the justice system, fans and supporters of R. Kelly only prayed and hoped that the trend of events in Chicago would help to challenge what had already transpired in New York. Thankfully, Judge Leinenweber did try to create a difference, denying the so-called victims restitutions, who in reality had been blackmailed by the government to get on board their witness team and help in the R. Kelly takedown. The two co-accused were also duly acquitted of the obstruction of justice charges along with R. Kelly, charges which were critical for the government to justify a RICO enterprise that they had falsely accused him for back in New York. The government, which had asked that the Chicago sentence be issued consecutively to the New York 30 years, were further disappointed when the Chicago judge instead issued a concurrent 19-year sentence, only adding one to the one in New York. Additionally, The Chicago judge added that R. Kelly will be liable for probation after serving 5 years in prison on good behavior. This shows that the Chicago federal judge knows that R. Kelly indeed has a chance to fight off the New York conviction, and if he succeeds with this, the provision of probation will become a real opportunity for R. Kelly to get out of prison and regain his freedom in an early release. For those who have been asking therefore whether R. Kelly can be granted an early release, note that even the Chicago judge himself has the hope that R. Kelly will be able to successfully beat his New York case, after which his opportunity for release on probation will be brought to life. The answer to this question is therefore a yes. R. Kelly will more than likely get an early release, and besides, we all know that the case against him is rather weak, coming to non-credible witnesses, and so many illegalities committed by government department officials in the effort to take him down. Mr. Kelly therefore has a high chance of winning his appeal, and when he does, his freedom will be imminent. According to Mila. Indeed, it looks like the New York judge Ann Donnelly surely does have her own personal issues with the R&B king. While the guilty verdict alone was not the expected result, her decision to issue a 30-year strict sentence that offered no possibility of probation after a few years sounds like the kind one would issue to a serial killer, and not a music star that is only suspected to have committed crimes to which the accusers have no empiric evidence whatsoever. In fact, as often said, the indirect life sentence that she issued is worse than what some murderers have received on the record. And worse still, like R. Kelly said during his Gayle King interview, there are real abusers out there who indeed have girls locked up in their basements, what he was falsely accused of.
It's real girls out there missing. It's real young girls out there being abducted. Okay? They really are on chains. They really do have chains on their wrists, and they can't get out.
The government, however, prefers to waste precious time conning the world into believing they have a predator in an innocent man who clearly hasn't committed the alleged crimes. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to lfnmedia15@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.